The challenge is out there. The challenge is out there today as I speak, and it has been for a while. And that is 70% of our Native children, sadly and unfortunately, aren't able to graduate or drop out of high school or drop out of school totally. And we have to ask ourselves, where do they go? They just don't disappear. What happens to them? We need to think about that, and we need to all get together and say, let's put something together, at least for that 70%. Now, this is not going to affect and shouldn't affect the 30%. You know, and we're hearing today from educators that, oh my, we can't do nothing, we don't want to do anything different. And we understand that, and we respect that, because they've obviously dedicated their lives, their professions to be instructors, teachers, administrators. So we're saying to them, we're not asking you to change. We're just asking you to be a part of this. Come sit at the table. Come feel you're part of the circle and contribute to this task of putting together a system that's fair and that's appropriate for that 70%. Because as we look at that in history, and we ask ourselves, is this the 70% that our people talked about saying the prophecy is going to come back? Are these the ones that have these gifts and are having a challenging time trying to understand them, and yet sitting down in the classroom with what we call academics right now? Because there is a difference. The vehicle is different, you know, to learning math and reading, because we know that that's the push now, is to do math and reading. I believe that's Common Core. Push math and reading, reading and math, math and reading. And why does that have to be? Because No Child Left Behind does say that, you know, and it's really interesting to see this chapter unfold, because I've always said this over the years, that when we look at education, it's kind of like raising cattle. Because if you don't graduate by the time you're 18, there's something wrong with you. If you graduate when you're 16 or 17, you're gifted. You're awesome. If you graduate when you're 19 or 20 or later, oh, he or she overcame these challenges and they're there. There's always got to be something wrong with you. And there shouldn't be. That shouldn't be the case, because the Creator created all of us. But today, that frame of thinking has been there for generations and decades. Got to be 18. Got to go to school in September. Got to be done in May. There has to be a paradigm shift in thinking, if you will, about education. And that's what we want to work with as partners, with the federal offices, with the state offices, and let them know and share with them that give us a chance now as Native educators. Give us this opportunity now, because the demonstration projects have been here, at least for the 70%, since in the case of South Dakota, since 1889, March 2nd. The demonstration project called Education has been with us, and it hasn't worked for us for at least the minimum 70%. That's a lot of humans. It's a lot of children, a lot of young people. So it's time for us to back up and look at that, and maybe, hopefully someday, we'll hear comments that, hey, these folks know what to do. We feel that we do. But again, we don't want to force it on anybody. We want to do it as partners. And I feel that we're at that juncture right now. As I speak today, December of 2014, we've seen some advancements working with the state office. We're grateful for that. We realize that we have to do our part in Indian country throughout our tribal governments, our education departments, etc. And I know we can do it. And I really feel happy. So as we look at that 70%, I'm reminded of that comment that the education instructor told me back in the day when I was taking classes at Black Hills State. He said that 70% of what you learn in the classroom, you'll either forget or you'll never use. And I don't know, there's irony in those numbers, I don't know, but it's time to do that in education. It's time to sit down and expend more resources to give us an opportunity to take a look at that, because back in the day, the Merriam report back in the 1930s shows that. And if you were to take all the dates out of that and put it in front of you and look at the Merriam report, we haven't moved in terms of success as far as number of graduation, number of Native children graduating. I mean, I encourage everybody to look at the Merriam report, where they're saying you should do this, and we're still doing that today. And now it's time for us to do a Lakota Merriam report, if you will, to say, here's what we can do. We believe that this is going to work. And if you want to call it a demonstration project, we'd gracefully ask for 125 years to do it as well, to prove its success. But at any rate, we see these things evolving, you know, and exciting. And we do this in a respectful way. Because like I said, as a tribal government official, it's a human rights violation to not put something in place that's fair and appropriate for that 70%. In my time, I feel optimistic, enough to say this, that we will see some of these things. What am I talking about? Opportunity to have charter schools on Indian reservations. Opportunities to look at immersion schools with our languages. Opportunities to look at a Montessori type of a learning system. Not only teaching, but learning ways that would be fair and appropriate for our children. The reason I'm saying these things is because when we talk our language and we go to interpret it, we interpret it backwards in English. So this is why it's imperative that we look at something fair and appropriate. Lakota chaketaku wichoni lecha waombelezap chashna daku ota aikake. Daku ota washtetche hinapke. Hena eche wana iungulakap. We're talking about things now that when we look at concepts, we talk about issues, there's a lot of good things attached to it. This is the way a Lakota thinks. It's just not one size fits all, if you will. There are a lot of wonderful, and that's the beauty of life. So what I just did in my best way is to interpret what I said in Lakota, and I had to do it backwards. I had to do it backwards.